Alright, time for another draftphysics.com, debatephysics.com also. Video presentation. So, I probably should make this video, this part of the video, I'll just start every video with this clip, I guess. We'll see how it goes. Because none of these arguments have been responded to in any way, and, all of the rest is all just gimmicks and shenanigans and nonsense. Where they attempt to say they have proven some element and they haven't come anywhere close to debunking the volume of evidence that exists. So let's start with argument. Would say this is the first argument, second argument, third argument, fourth argument. Okay. So the first is the thrust one, or the basic Newtonian third law thing. So if you believe in Newton's third law, that momentum must be conserved with equal and opposite reaction, then automatically the kinetic energy theory means that you have no coherent thing called energy in the universe anymore, because any source can just be used to shoot lighter and lighter things. The lighter the thing I shoot, the more energy the thing had. So if I have a certain spring compression and I put very light things on either side, I'll get 4,000 joules of energy, let's say. And if I put very heavy things on each side, I can get 2. Okay, so the same exact experiment, in space, so no friction. All right, same experiment, same fuel, and it'll produce vastly different amounts of energy. So that's just a logical inference. You can't, it's just a logical consequence of the theory. You can't evade that as being the truth, that all sources of energy almost have an infinite potential. If you can find something small enough to push with the energy, you will maximize how much energy you can get out of the fuel. Just a fact by their theory. So the simple premise is if I'm in space and I throw something, right, it will have a kinetic energy. The fact is, I won't get the equal and opposite kinetic energy. I'll get the equal and opposite momentum. So here we are. I throw a golf ball, or I throw something light and small. I throw something big and heavy. I'm going to create a huge difference in the kinetic energy, and I'm only going to get the momentum back. So the equal and opposite reaction will only be momentum. There won't be any evidence of this energy, extra energy or work I did. So it doesn't make any sense at all. All right, so if I calculate the thrust based on, in joules, based on kinetic energy theory, it'll give me some gigantically preposterous, silly number. I calculate the momentum. It'll be a small, tiny number. Which one do I get? I get the tiny number. Fact. And so this relates to the ballistic pendulum, the next argument. So if I actually take the thrust, and it's in the form of little bullets, and I try to collect the kinetic energy. So their kinetic energy theory says the bullet has 2,000 joules. I'll collect 2 in the ballistic pendulum. It's true. If you have like 1,000 to 1 ratio between the masses, you'll end up with these hard percentages where you'll conserve, theoretically, 99% of the momentum, and you'll lose 99% of the kinetic energy. Won't be accounted for, won't be anywhere. So I can't even collect this stuff. I can't make it do anything. So in this vein, the Mythbusters did crash cars, 50 miles an hour, 100 miles an hour, same car, brick wall. And yes, it only crushed twice as much, not 4 times as much. So no evidence of kinetic energy there either. All right, so Bruce Yearney did do the let's crash wooden blocks into each other with a rubber band used as the creating force. It obviously gave equal momentum to the two, so the one mass goes 4v, the 4 mass goes 1v, they crash into each other, and there's absolutely no evidence that the thing with 4 times the energy wins the collision. And in every collision case, what you'll find is it doesn't matter what the relationships are, whatever one has more momentum wins. Indicating again that momentum is all that matters. This KE is irrelevant mush. It's nonsense. It can't do any work. It can't win a crash, a plain fist on fist crash. And the same would be true if we just reversed and did a tug of war. No evidence. It's not going to win. The thing with 4 times the energy isn't going to win the tug of war. You can't get harder evidence. All right, so now they're saying that spring compression, I guess I could add that, okay, that somehow if you compress a spring just 1.4 as much, okay, so I don't know exactly how much, so that's one compression, and so all I have to do is 0.4 more compression, and I'll get twice the energy. So it's not like you have to compress a spring, Hooke's law doesn't mean anything. It's not like twice the compression equals, twice the energy. So it's really completely anti-Newton. So let's just understand Newton's quoted right underneath the second law, stating 1 unit of force, 1 unit of velocity, 2 units of force, 2 units of velocity, 3 units of force, 3 units of velocity. Okay, complete proportionality between force and momentum. Same thing. And the law of the lever is basically saying that exact same thing. It says, well, the distance from the fulcrum is your difference in the magnitude of the force. So, a 1 mass at 1 unit, a 2 mass at 1 unit would be twice the energy, a 3 mass would be 3 times the weight, and the same goes for its velocity. And so 2 units of distance, 2 units of velocity. It's just an absolute fact that the distance perfectly correlates to the velocity. Doesn't matter about angular momentum, any of this kind of nonsense. It's clearly twice as much velocity. You can't get around it. 3 times the distance, 3 times the velocity. So their claim is that all you have to do is take a 1 mass going 1.4, put it in on 2 units of distance on a lever, and that'll produce a 2 mass going 1 velocity. And you'll make free momentum. 33% more momentum for free. Okay, because you don't need to compress a spring twice as much. So I could actually do that. I could compress a spring, shoot something, and it goes 1 distance because it's 1 velocity. So it goes 1 unit of distance. And then all I have to do is compress the spring 0.4 more. Just 0.4 more. Put the same object on, and it'll go 4 times the distance. Somehow they'll have twice the velocity. Yeah, no, it won't. So it's all junk and garbage, and their defenses of it are silly and a waste of my time, but they do demonstrate the fact that there just isn't any counter argument. So I'll read a couple of troll comments. I mean, it's all this sock account crap. There's nobody credible making an argument. You can't pay these cowards. Paul Nord couldn't pay him to make an argument. Can't pay any of these people to show up and actually make a physics argument. Debunking anything I just said here about what the absolute truth is. And how kinetic energy isn't coherent to any of the truths. Okay. All right, so that's probably enough of that. So maybe I'll throw that in every video. Just because until these things are answered, there's no point in having an argument. I mean, the thin ice argument. Why can you go across thin ice? If you go across it quickly, you don't fall in. Why? Well, obviously because you weigh less per inch. There's less force per inch on the ice. Now, that's an absolute statement being made. That's the absolute reason. There's no other reason. There's no other reason you don't break the ice except the fact that you're applying less weight to the surface per inch. Just an absolute fact. So until I hear a rational counter-argument, yeah, I can't do anything. There's nothing to do here, okay, because the rest of it is just a waste of time. And they've demonstrated over and over again. They'll contrive any kind of bizarre way of doing some experiment to cheat, to force it to come out their way. And it's just such a waste of time. Alright, so the DISPAR has published this video saying responding to DS wrong assumptions. It's a 1-minute video, so I guess it didn't make it into the shorts category because it's just, it has to be 59 something. But anyway, alright, so he doesn't talk. Okay, so I made a video and I pointed out a whole bunch of flaws, like why are the 2 balls taped to each other? I mean, theoretically, they should fall at exactly the same speed. You shouldn't need to tape them to each other. Putting a washer on the end, probably not a great idea because it might be creating more friction. Obviously, taping the two balls together might mean you have the holes inside the two balls unaligned, and therefore there's more friction. No quick release again. So one thing you're dropping from 1 unit of height, okay? The other thing is 4 units of height, okay? So it's a little tiny bit of error, not going to matter. 1 centimeter out of 60 centimeters doesn't matter as much. 1 centimeter out of 10 matters. All right, didn't pay any attention to any of those arguments, blah, 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 blah. And then the whole way he always films from too high or too low. There's just no getting around the fact that he's just trying to force it to be a garbage, and that's what it is. So let's just play this piece of shit. And I have to check the volume. Oh, no, I don't. Oh, yeah, I do, sort of, just because I talk here first. You can't change the results, which are terrible for their side, in the sense that it's nowhere close to twice the energy. So 9 and 10 isn't anywhere close to 2 to 1. And on top so this was part of his shenanigans. He does the video and he gives these published heights of 9 and 10 centimeters. And I thought about it and I said, well, you can't read the scale, so there's no way to be able to tell, because you can't read his scale at all. It's totally blurred out. So you can't do it for yourself. So you have to just trust his measurements, but you can't see anything. And I thought about it. I said, well, okay, when he starts the video, he measured 17 inches. So I said, okay, 9 or 8, is as a proportion of 17, it almost doesn't matter whether it's 9 or 7, you know what I'm saying? So 6 to 7 versus 8 to 9 or 9 to 10 isn't that big a difference. So I figured, okay, so maybe that's the way he did that. But why wouldn't he measure the actual number of centimeters the rubber band moved? I mean, why wouldn't he publish the results of the actual number of centimeters it moved rather than the number from the bottom? Yeah, too ridiculous. Let's see. So, yes, it does come very close to what conventional... No, it doesn't come very close. Okay, so 5.8 right, isn't 4. And, I would dispute the 5.8, by the way, clearly. All right, twice the energy means 1.4 times as much spring compression. So he's basically saying that all I have to do is, I launch something and it goes this high. And then I just compress the spring 1.4 more and it goes 4 times as high. That's their theory. It's idiotic on its face. I mean, again, it violates Hooke's law. It doesn't make any sense. When did this happen? Where all of a sudden nobody thinks you have to compress a spring twice as much to be twice as much energy. When did that happen? It's just a waste of time. Okay, so now he has 13 centimeters, right? So I could show you the clip from his video where he's measuring an actual ruler on over here. So if you can see that over here part. Okay, can you see that? Is this even recording? Yeah, let's see. Yeah, you can see that. Well, you can see enough of it. If you can see my mouse, there's a ruler over here, a wooden one. Not a great one. It's one of the unfolding kind. But anyway, and he measures the height of the rubber band at 17 centimeters. And now on this paper scale that he drew, okay, this one, he's saying it's 13. I mean, and he measures from the top one time, and he measures from the bottom the next time, right? And you can obviously see he's filming from below the rubber band. So we have the whole parallax problem all over again. So what bullshit, it says here, without the weights, the rubber band aligns with the 13 centimeter mark. Says you. Yeah, and why did you show 17 in the video then? 17 and a half it might even have been. So when he's doing the dropping heights, he just puts a stick and it could be anywhere, and he's just, he couldn't care less about any of this being anywhere close to precise. So you have a pretty high differential, right? The same experiment, and you have an 8 and an 8.7. you know, as your extremes. So that's not very good right from the start. You're saying, gee, that's a 10% defect. You know, so you got to wonder what's causing the 10% differential. That's a pretty huge differential. 10%. All right. So anyway, so he's going by the height on his ruler from the bottom. Obviously, again, if you look at these images, you can see you can't see a damn thing. There's no way I could verify these measurements at all. It is, as a fact, the same camera angle. So if you look at other features except for the ruler and you measure like other features like the little thing on the wall over here, you'll definitely see that the one mass going twice the velocity appears definitely to have compressed the rubber band more. But I'd argue that's only because he hasn't done the experiment well. That's why there's 8.7 and 8. It's because he hasn't done the experiment very well. I mean, it's a huge difference, right? So if you look at this one image, this bottom of the frame is, a little tiny bit below the center line of the ball. And clearly here it's well below the center line. So in this is the same object, and you have this huge difference in where this frame intersects the ball. Huge, really, visual difference. And that's mostly because of parallax, because of the shitty way this is filmed with this shitty camera that obviously warps everything. Look, the ruler's not even straight. It's got all kinds of buckles in it and bullshit. I mean, it's just terrible. And he's proving something here. He's proving Archimedes wrong, and he's proving Newton wrong, and he's doing it with a garbage experiment like this. Dum diddy dum dum doo doo doo. Alright, so here we have this taped monstrosity, and it's got a little metal washer on top here. Why the two balls, I guess, don't have the same mass, you know, exactly, so he had to add some more weight. He didn't account for the weight of the tape, as far as I know. But you gotta wonder, right? I mean, obviously this is the opportunity for creating more friction. But clearly the ball is a lot lower by the frame. So if you look at the bottom of the frame is way down here at the bottom of the ball. So clearly the ball did not push down as far. But I'd say that's mostly because he doesn't know what friction is, and he doesn't know what a quick release is or why it's important. He can't figure that out. That human dexterity isn't precise enough. And it should be avoided where possible, not in his philosophy. Alright, so the differential here is 9.6 to 10, so it's not as big, only 4, okay? So the margin of error in this experiment for some reason is different, even though it doesn't look like it's... I mean, this is a pretty dramatic difference between the 10 and the 0.6 in terms of where that frame hits again. I think, well, no, it's about the same, actually. Let me look at that. You know, that's so close. You're saying, how could he have measured 9.6 when the frame basically says, yeah, that's pretty much exactly the same. Let's see, if I go by the height of this towel, you know, that's almost the center. I mean, yeah, no, you know. So his the most divergent, what he's reading as divergent numbers by these other references say, no, they're pretty much identical. I mean, I could put these two images on top of each other, and I probably am not going to have any of these things not line up. Frankly, all of these look like exactly the same. So they all came out really consistent. And you'd say the average is damn close to 10, yes. But anyway, so, I mean, just bullshit. So he didn't deal with anything mentioned in the video. So I said in the video, why don't you just raise this up another inch and see what would happen? I mean, you know, their theory is you have to go all the way to twice the distance to get 1.4. So you got a long way to go, you know, to be twice the energy or anything else. So just see what's happening, 1 inch. See how much a difference 1 inch would make. I mean, I'm claiming the 1 inch or the 2 centimeters is the difference between a quick release and no quick release, and tape and no tape. and washer and no washer. So 1.53 clearly isn't 1.4. So yeah. And so the question is it a 20% error or is it an 80% error in the argument? Yeah, it's an 80% error. All right, so the one mass stretch the rubber band 1.67 more on average. So again, says you. I'd say it's not even close to 6-7 more. But anyway, and we're not even taking into account static amount of stress, whatever that is. And we're not even taking into account the static amount of stretch, which would be, I think, in this experiment, fairly negligible. But yes, he didn't weigh the actual objects. Look, the rubber band is supposed to be able to weigh objects, so why don't you just put different objects on the rubber band and see how good the rubber band actually weighs the objects. See if it actually works. You know, 1 mass, 2 mass, 3 mass, 4 mass, 5 mass. See if you get a proportional deviation in the rubber band. So he doesn't even prove this scale actually works, let alone, you know, that's well calibrated, let's say. He doesn't calibrate the scale. And it's 2 rubber bands, by the way. I mean, you know, they're going both ways. That's it. Okay, so garbage. So no one's commented, but somebody got 10 views, but no one's commenting anyway, which is fine. So we'll just go to my channel comments and see what we can see. I mean, junk. Not on the subject, garbage responses. That's all there are. Irrelevant nonsense. Alright, so obvious troll account called leveled lever or something. So obviously blockable. You can lift 1 pound up 4 meters, place it on a lever. So I don't even know what that means. So there's a lever. It doesn't even make any sense. How do I place it on the lever and then drop it? It doesn't make any sense. Okay, so I have a really bent lever with 4 pounds on it down here. And I lift 1 pound all the way up and put it on the lever. Okay, now it's going to swing the 4 pounds all the way up. That's his argument. And use it to lift 4 pounds 1 meter. According to you, this is free energy. It's not just according to me. I mean, it's just a fact that it's free momentum. You're taking something with half the momentum and producing twice the momentum. So that's free momentum. So why are you still poor? Well, because I'm an honest person, that's why. You know, if you're honest and decent, you know, in terms of you have any humanity, you really can't do all the exploitation required to commercially profit. Yeah, it just ain't gonna happen. Honest people don't get rich. No, fuck off, asshole. Alright, want to have another stroke. So what does this have to do with anything, right? You know, amazing. You know, it's just amazing. Walking on an inclined treadmill uses exactly the same amount of energy as walking the same speed uphill with the same incline. So obviously it's just a lie if the treadmill has no resistance, right? So if I have a treadmill and no resistance on an incline, nothing's going to happen. I'm not going to do any work. Okay, I'm just stepping into the air and pushing almost just air down again. And so the way the treadmill works is it has to create resistance. And so the resistance is either creating heat or you can just have a counterweight. And the fact is you could just lift your mass up as you push on the treadmill. So I could tie a treadmill to 150 pounds and I could lift it. Or I could put it on pulleys and make it even less weight, lift it even more distance. But that's what's really going to happen. The momentum exchange is absolutely proven fact, and so your comment just demonstrates you're an idiot. You don't think the treadmill has some mechanism that's creating an equal torque against the motion that would be the same as me lifting my mass the required height. So if you were walking uphill, you're lifting your mass up an amount of distance. Okay. And the treadmill will just duplicate that. And so instead of lifting you stay where you are, a mass is lifted or heat is created. Shit for brain. Ugh, God. All right, we'll just remove that one. All right, you're insane. Right, so I've started every one of these videos with a simple little argument. So I'm insane because I think if you're going to call something energy, it should be able to do work. And if it can't move something in space, that is, if something ejects 2,000 joules and it can't get 2,000 joules of an equal and opposite reaction, then it's not doing work. If I can't collect it with a ballistic pendulum, it's not doing work. If it doesn't smash car fenders, it's not doing work. If it doesn't win collisions, it's not doing work. If it doesn't win tug of wars, it's not doing work. Asshole. So just remember this guy's name, whatever this is. Constance Noring. Yeah, like I believe that's a girl. Yeah, and what would it be proving if it is? Oh, jeez. You know, you try so hard to be a good feminist, but damn, they just keep rubbing it in your face. You know, no point. Don't waste your time trying to reclamate these beasties. Okay, you're insane. I hope your entire online presence is a personal abstract art project. Well, obviously that's what you're involved in, is some nonsense, okay, where you don't pay any attention to any facts, you comment completely irrelevantly to a video, don't say a goddamn thing except you're ugly. Well, I'm sure you're fat and I'm sure your vagina stinks. So fuck you. God, you want me to type that on your channel? You useless whore? God damn. Alright, that's the only, it's probably a man disguised as a woman. You know, there's a lot of that going on. That's the only thing that would make sense. Yeah, you know, what makes sense is accountability. A world where people were accountable. You know, they had real Social Security numbers. They really had to take responsibility for what they did in the world. They couldn't just do all of this molesting of the truth, you know, without being accountable. Anyway, personally, I think you took the project a little too far. You look exactly like the type of person that would post these meaningless, incoherent ramblings that, yes, and you couldn't produce a single reasonable argument to a single one of the assertions I made. So I made a bunch of assertions about your smelly anus, your skanky cunt, and your flabby boobs and your fat ass. I made a whole bunch of accusations and you didn't respond to a single one by showing me how you know what you're talking about, how you know anything about physics. God, you people are just such balls of suck. Useless, stupid, ignorant suck. Alright. So, enough of a video. That was a little bit of fun, and I'm sorry for the women's out there. There's a few women, okay, who are women. You know, they're just female versions of a human. Okay? And perfectly respectable. Perfectly capable of reasoning and logic and not being a troll and an asshole and a liar and pretending they were raped when they weren't and all kinds of other things. No, they're perfectly honorable humans, and I didn't mean to diss you. But I have less, the little bit of respect, you know, the disrespect I show towards women now and then. Just understand, I show more disrespect towards males all the time. Just absolute useless turds, most of them. You really couldn't go wrong. You know, you can't hit a decent man, you know. So if you have to back into one, yeah, no problem. Because the odds are you did the world a favor. All right. So till the next time and such and so forth and whatnot. God, I hate this fucking scuzz planet. I mean, really. Billions of years of evolution to have this magnificent calculating device, and you motherfuckers can't give it any dignity at all by using it honestly. Fuck. Get what you goddamn deserve. What you will get. You know, because that's the way life works. It sucks, and you're going to get a big pile of suck. I wish I could be there, you know. Yeah, I wish yeah, I mean, it really is. You know, there's something about it where you just say, yeah, you know, I really shouldn't feel good about their horrible, awful destruction, you know, that'll eventually happen. But it does please me. Yeah, so, because you deserve it, you fuckers, you lying scum fuckers. I mean, this isn't even complicated. Law of the lever, this is not complicated physics that these motherfuckers are stomping all over to pretend to believe in this goddamn Holy Ghost totem pole. It's an ugly, stupid totem pole. And here they are, bowed over, saying, yes, yes, shove it in my anal cavity. The lovely, wonderful MV squared. It's pathetic.